I am here with Jean-Louis Carbonnier, who is the National Director of the Americas for Chateau Palmer and its second wine, Alter Ego. Now, Jean-Louis might correct me about it being a second wine, so I'm going to hand it over to Jean-Louis, who's going to tell us about the wine, the vinification process of both wines, and why Chateau Palmer, if it really needs to be said, is so special.
Well, thank you very much for the question. Well, we don't think of Alter Ego as a second wine, as you said. For us, we're making two wines, Alter Ego and Palmer, and the two wines are made side by side. We started making Alter Ego in 1998. One reason we look at it differently is because we used to have a second wine before we made Alter Ego. It was called Réserve du Général, and in those days, most of the production would be made into Palmer, maybe 80-85% of the production, then about 10% or so Réserve du Général, and then we also sell a little bit of wine in bulk, which we still do. Réserve du Général was essentially made with barrels that were not used in the blend of Palmer. What we do now with Alter Ego, our approach is that we're making two wines, and the two wines are really made side by side from the ground up. So at harvest time, we have now identified certain parcels that go into Alter Ego every year, parcels that go into Palmer every year, and then parcels that will go one way or the other depending on the vintage. The idea is that the two wines have two different styles, with Alter Ego being more approachable, more fruit forward, and Palmer, a wine with a lot of structure to allow it to age for many decades. So really two different visions. So at harvest time, so we bring the grapes in that are picked by hand, of course, and we know exactly what we're going to do with these grapes. So the vinification is specific to each batch, whether it's going to be used for Alter Ego or Palmer. For example, the maceration time will be shorter for Alter Ego, longer for Palmer. The temperature of fermentation typically cooler for Alter Ego. Again, all of this in order to preserve the fruit. And whereas for Palmer, we're looking for a bit more extraction, again to contribute to the structure of the wine. Then after that, the wines are aged a little bit differently, with the Alter Ego blend being aged in about 20 to 40% of new oak barrels, and the Palmer blend aged in about 40 to 60% of new oak barrels. The aging is about the same, about 21 months for each wine, and then it really allows us to make two different wines. So for example, today we're tasting Alter Ego 14. It's still a very youthful wine, but it really shows a lot of fruit, and it's almost quite approachable right now. Palmer 14 would not be that expressive at this stage, and you would definitely feel, Palmer 14.
This is the 10, and this is fantastic.
And then with
but
10,
you can visualize, you can taste this in the 14 that we just tasted.
Absolutely, and then we're also tasting Alter Ego 10, and Alter Ego 10 is quite approachable and in many ways quite resolved. The tannins are very well integrated. The wine.
Yeah, this is the Alter Ego 10.
It's very very harmonious. Palmer 10 right now is a bit of a beast. It's I would not say, okay, let's open the Palmer 10, but I'm very comfortable to open Alter Ego 10.
Right. Just one question of clarification. When the grapes are out growing in the vineyard, do you know which parcels, which blocks are for which wines? Or is that decision made during the course of the harvest?
Well, for the core parcels of both Palmer and Alter Ego, we know which they are. So let's say we have about 110 parcels within the estate, which, by the way, we farm biodynamically now. So we know that a certain number of these parcels will be in Alter Ego every year. Some of these parcels will be in Palmer every year. So we already know that by the time harvest comes. And then, and then there are those parcels that will go one way or the other depending on the vintage.
Fantastic.
And then this is something that we assess, as we pick the grapes. I mean, typically the technical team devotes a great deal of time to tasting the grapes every day, before harvest and during harvest, and it helps us determine for those parcels which way they are going to go if they are not already dedicated to one or the other of our wines.
Super. I
Yeah, thank you.
feel honored to taste them with you.
Thank you very much.
Chin chin.
Cheers.
Cheers.